Oh, we're gonna get to the ass. Don't worry. There is a. We're gonna get to. Well, let's save.
Sorry, please continue.
Let's save Keira Knightley's ass for later in the podcast. Is a sentence I never wanted to say, but we're gonna have to. We're gonna have.
Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello. This is Che.
And this is Corey.
And this is the Next Time On Podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends discuss all things amazing and all things fetid in popular culture. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, imagine if instead of making one of the worst biopics I've ever seen in my entire life, Keira Knightley and the legend that was Tony Scott teamed up to make this thing. Corey, which one of us gets to be Keira Knightley? Which one of us gets to be Tony Scott in this analogy?
I'll be Keira Knightley since I'm the pretty one.
Listen, Tony Scott was a fucking looker. I'll take it.
We both contributed to bad art, cinema, or something.
Obviously, rest in peace to the legend. Has made some of my favorite action movies of all time. Some of the greatest action movies ever. But this is one of the toughest hangs we've ever done.
This was a bad one.
And I have to say, and if you listen to the podcast in weeks coming up to this, which also, I know it's been a gap, but I think we're back in full flow. We're going to be doing pretty regular episodes again. Corey's fully moved in.
Yeah, no, if you want to check out the video, if you want to check out the video, Corey finally has a background and a place where he can record that's not his bedroom. For the first time, I think, in podcast history, I don't have to record in my bedroom.
I'll take it. Listen,
honestly,
we're on the up and up. But if you've been listening to the podcast in recent weeks, you will know that I was actually pretty confident this was going to be a fun movie. Because in my head, and honestly,
we were going to do a watch along, but I think this watch along would have been just us being like, what the fuck is this?
I actually think this watch along would have been truly hilarious. I might actually just drop a screenshot of my notes onto the timeline just so people will see.
I think that's actually a great idea for this.
There was a point during, people who know, I watched the first movie all the way through. Don't take any notes. Just want to watch it, and then the second time through, I will do all the stuff we're going to do. We're going to grab the worst lines, worst scenes, etc. But halfway through the first viewing of this, I just had to start jotting down my notes because there was a point at which I thought I was actually losing my mind. There is a note here, and I will...
I got to say this about this movie, though. You can't look away, in a sense. Like
It is like a breakneck speed.
You have to pay attention. Because I remember I was like, let it go. I went to the bathroom, I came back, and I was fucking lost. And you can't. You couldn't do a bathroom break with this movie. Like, if it was in theaters, I could not imagine. First, I would be mad as shit if I paid money for this. Well, I did, actually, because it's not streaming anywhere.
I think this note in my fully it's near the beginning of my mental breakdown while watching this actually sums up exactly what Corey's getting at perfectly. I said this movie is somehow both ape-brain stupid and insanely convoluted. It's like the two worst things ever. It's like if Tenant was also Dude, Where's My Car? It's like...
But also somehow still worse than that.
Yeah, actually, those are two movies that I like kind of enjoy. Dude, Where's My Car is not really my thing, but I love
Dude, Where's
Tenet.
My Car? Dude, Where's My Car might be on the fucking rewatch at some point. I forgot about that movie.
Dude, Where's My Car, I think people will not really remember because it is now... makes me feel ancient. 23 years old now.
Oh my God, we were 5? 6?
7, Chief.
We're not 30 yet.
We're not 30 yet. But it was like a phenomenon. This movie, this was like peak Sean William Scott, Ashton Kutcher, made like, I think well over $100 million, which for a comedy at the time was insane.
Everyone saw that movie.
Yeah, it was like for a hot second, It had real cultural cachet.
It
Did this
was also
movie
one of those
Domino.
things too, where it was like, this is a stoner comedy, but I don't think anyone in the movie smoked. I think it was before that was like allowed. I think full on.
Yeah, I think it's like you probably couldn't actually have people smoking weed. Although when was Half Baked? Half Baked could
Also,
have been.
yeah, no,
Half Baked was before
Baked.
that.
Half Baked was 90s, and also that 70s show, which I don't know if they actually ever showed them smoking weed, but I think that was like Ashton Kutcher's like first thing, right?
They must have, right? The whole show is like, isn't the whole like instead of
I mean,
having
like,
their little like
physically.
friends coffee shop, they had the circle where they would smoke weed.
Well,
Was
they
that
would
the
just
structure of
be
the show?
high in it. I don't
Oh,
actually,
but they wouldn't actually see them smoking.
I don't know. It's been a long time.
Are
Honestly.
you excited for that 80s show?
We've
No, that
been-
90s show.
It's already been out, man.
Okay.
I haven't watched it.
Shows you
But
how excited I was for it.
I like that show. I don't like it that much. We should talk about Domino.
Do you want to talk about Domino though? Why don't we instead talk about the White House plumbers?
Okay. Let's talk about Domino.
Fuck. Yeah, I guess we should. So what is this movie?
This movie is a loose biopic.
I think it's actually. I think we shouldn't say that.
Yes, I think we should probably just from the beginning just preface something. So the movie itself is named after. It's loosely supposed to be a biopic about.
Even the movie opens with "This is based on a true story,"
Which is
sort of, and sort of is doing a lot of work in that.
I
that
think
statement.
basically the real life person Domino Harvey was a woman and a bounty hunter. And I think that's about it, really. Then I
They
think
get
that's
her father correct. So Domino Harvey is actually the child of Lawrence Harvey, but they don't get her mother correct.
No,
They
do
actually,
not.
no, they get it correct. They specifically change who her mother is because obviously her mother comes off pretty poorly in this movie and is like a real human being. And I'm sure they didn't want to like dunk on this person.
Exactly.
Who was, I think, actually not even was, I think is still alive. So she's the daughter of Pauline Stone, who's like a former supermodel. Yeah, she's 81, English supermodel who was wife of the late actor Lawrence Harvey, and obviously mother of Domino Harvey. So that is basically the only part of this movie that is true at all.
Yeah, besides that, it has nothing really to do with this woman. So I think that's we just put that on the table, like just right now. Yeah.
But it is so. It is made by Tony Scott, as I said up top. Like I said, one of the greatest action directors of all time has made genuine classics like Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Days of Thunder, True Romance, Crimson Tide, Man on Fire, which is the movie he makes right before this, and then Unstoppable, which is his last film, and also one of my favorites of his, one of the most underrated action movies of the 2000s. If you guys haven't seen Unstoppable, it is this Denzel Washington, Chris Pine vehicle about a runaway train, and it is actually like so good. You should check that out. If you're looking for a Tony Scott movie, watch I think literally any other one but this one and you'll be all right.
I'm right there. It's funny because I didn't even Google the director beforehand. And I was like legitimately upset. I was like, how the fuck did this movie come out from this thing?
Well, so let's continue to run down who actually made this, because it is insane how bad it is considering the creative team behind this. So because we have Tony Scott, we have Richard Kelly, who is the screenwriter here, who is most famous for Donnie Darko, a movie that I think neither Corey and I are like all that high on, but it obviously has this like incredible cult following that is, I think, sort of died down now. I don't know if there's like a big 2023 Donnie Darko high.
I think it's people who maybe liked it as kids but I don't really think I've met anybody who's actually went back and rewatched it.
Yeah.
I tried listen, I remember watching it when the internet was like super high on it, and I just never got it. I think we're talking to Chaby. We were talking before this, and I'm like, I feel like I was just like in this weird realm of being like, oh, is this a bad movie? And I think it's just kind of one of those things that I guess I just realized was bad, and I don't take that back because I think it's a bad movie that's complicated for no reason, that really wants to be a David Lynch story.
And you can see a lot of the bones of what is going on in Donnie Darko, which I think is inarguably a more successful movie than Domino. But it has, like you said, it's sort of overly complicated, this convoluted plot, these like untrustworthy narrators that sort of fold back in on themselves. And in that movie, it at least makes sense because this is this story about a character who is supposed to be a little bit nuts or a lot of bit nuts. Domino, it has the same sort of structure narratively as Donnie Darko, where we're like told things are happening as the audience that then get revealed later, never actually happened.
Yeah.
And they get just this cyclical storytelling. And it doesn't work in what is supposed to be a biopic action movie. Two of them were supposed to be like structurally sound genres of filmmaking.
It's a really interesting way to look at a biopic where they had an unreliable, I'm just trying to be nice, an unreliable narrator in a movie that's already loosely, it's a weird concept for something. It's like this movie is about like, oh, this is like fucking, I don't know why, like it's like Ray Charles, whatever. It's like if Ray, but like Ray just made up most of his life, and at the end was like, yeah, I just fucking made that up, and it's like, what the fuck was the point of the movie then?
Yeah, I think this happens more often than we would like to admit with like less famous people. Obviously, Domino, Harvey. Probably not a house. I shouldn't say I don't know. To me, it wasn't a household name before this movie.
Yeah, I wasn't super familiar with her story before this.
And I imagine what happened is Richard Kelly saw. I think actually has said he saw this article about her that was like, here's the supermodel turned bounty hunter, and was just like, that's a cool idea for a movie. I'll write that, and then didn't write her story, which is probably, to be honest, not that interesting, and ultimately is quite tragic. She obviously dies.
Apparently
a couple months before the release of this movie.
Yeah, I think the movie was over, but yeah, apparently Tony Scott and her actually, because apparently he reached out and they became friends, and I guess they got in contact and they went.
She's in the film. She's supposedly pretty involved in the making of it, which I also find fascinating because obviously this isn't really has anything to do with her life. The fact that she had as much to do with it, or at least as much like to do with the creative team behind it, is interesting. So Richard Kelly also probably, besides Donnie Darko and Domino, his other third most famous movie is Southland Tales, which is not good, but also has like a weird triumvirate that thinks it's like a good movie. Like I think rock fans are really into Southland Tales. I don't have a lot else to say about Richard Kelly's career, to be honest with you.
Wait, is Southland Tales the one with The Rock in it and Sean William Scott?
The Rock and Sean William Scott. And,
that movie. Okay, this makes so much more sense now. That this entire movie makes. After watching, have you seen Southland Tales?
Yeah.
That movie sucks.
No, Richard Kelly has one trick, and I think it's never worked. Some people think it has worked once.
I honestly, if somebody, please write in or tweet at us if you enjoyed Southland Tales, because I would like to personally invite you onto this podcast so you can explain to me what the fuck that movie was.
I think the fact that he has essentially not worked since 2009 suggests that maybe we are maybe over the Richard Kelly experience.
He wrote down the lines for The Rock to say, "I'm a pimp and pimps don't commit suicide." And that line has stuck with me for a long time.
Would I have guessed that Corey Bishop would have been able to pull a Southland Tales quote out of his ass on this podcast? No, I wouldn't have bet my life on this.
Think about that all the time. Because I also remember it's in relation to soldiers who commit suicide after PTSD. Like, that's a lot of the movies. And I'm like, why would you put that line in there? Sorry, we shouldn't. I don't want to divulge into Southland Tales. That'll be later on when we put that on Kristen.
I don't think I could do Southland Tales.
Don't worry, Che. We're gonna do it. No, I can't. We can't deny the content for the audience.
Domino also happens to star a truly, I think, pretty great cast. Again, it's just shocking that this movie's bad.
I can understand why this movie. I understand why this movie was greenlit though. Like, if someone was like, "This is the cast. Tony Scott wants to direct this movie." It sounds like an interesting concept.
The guy who did Donnie Darko.
Yeah. It's like, no, absolutely. Green lit.
Keira Knightley, kind of at the beginning of her peak. She's coming off of Pride and Prejudice and would follow this movie up with Atonement. Probably two of her most celebrated performances of her career. Obviously, Mickey Rourke, who is near the tail end of the Mickey Rourke Experience. This is
The Bird.
this is pre his return in The Wrestler and Sin City. Actually, Sin City is the same year as this, isn't it? Sin
I
City's
think
also
it might
2005.
be. I think it might be, yeah.
So this is like obviously post like heartthrob Mickey Rourke, but still, I still think Mickey Rourke is like a great actor up until 13 seconds before he walks on the set to do Iron Man 2. Something happened when he walked onto the set of the Disney lot, but before
I think someone
Mickey Rourke
I
was
think someone
cooking.
straight up just punched him in the face before the movie started, and he got a
Where's
concussion.
my bird?
The Bird.
Édgar Ramirez, Delroy Lindo, Monique, Christopher Walken, among honestly many others. Macy Gray, I guess I should mention. Very, very weird that she's in this movie.
Oh, that was Macy Gray. That's
is
why I
Macy
recognized her. Weird.
Macy Gray, like I think Grammy Award winning, at the very least, celebrated musician.
This is
just
definitely
playing a caricature of a caricature in this movie. It's pretty depressing, honestly. As like a fan of
entire
her
movie's
musical
depressing.
work. Yes, yeah, that's true. But let's let's move on to have a more structured conversation about this truly disastrous film. And it is my turn for the 100-word synopsis. And
Have fun.
I'm going to go. Domino Harvey, daughter of Lawrence Harvey, is a model turned bounty hunter who joins the crew of Ed Mosby. Mosby, Harvey, and a third bounty hunter, Choco, are tasked by conman / multi-hyphenate Claremont Williams to capture and return the First Ladies, a crew who has stolen $10 million from an armored truck that belongs to the mob. Claremont and his baby mama, Leticia Rodriguez, accidentally framed the children of the same mob boss, leading to a breakneck closure to this film where Domino and her crew try to shoot their way out of trouble, unsuccessfully. Oh, also, there's an Afghani terrorist. I mean, I did my best to
No, you covered it.
to crunch this convoluted. Basically, there's like 2 sentences in there that skate over the insanity that is the plan in this movie by Claremont Williams. It doesn't make any sense. Why? I guess I'm just going to start up top, Corey, and we'll go into
Let's do it.
categories.
No,
Why
that's fair.
doesn't this man just steal the $10 million?
That's actual. I was thinking the exact same thing because it really makes no sense whatsoever that they had to go to this weird backlog of like he has to. I don't actually understand why they needed to do all that. I guess so they can clean their hands of it. I don't know. Stupid.
No, but they don't. They do the opposite. They literally, instead of clearing, like instead of distancing himself from it, he literally calls up the man who he stole from and tells him the money's gone.
Yeah, no, that's also pretty, like also such a weird move to do. And the guy's like, oh, they're in on it then. And I'm like, yeah,
Right.
He called him out
gives away
immediately.
he gives it away so quickly.
I feel like the writer was writing down like, why would they know about it? It's like, I guess they do know about it now. I guess we're gonna put that in now. It's a horrible plan, but they kind of put the entire crux of this plan as the movie, where it's a heist film, I guess. But she's a bounty hunter.
I'm glad that you framed that as a question. Like I'm gonna have the answer to, is it a heist movie?
Genuine.
They sort of steal money. All right, but that begs the question, Corey. Is Rotten Tomatoes right about Domino? So Domino.
What's the numbers?
The 2005 action biography. The biography they really need to drop. But either way, 18% from the critics, 155 reviews. A shockingly, still rotten at the very least, but a shockingly high 56% from the audience at 100,000 plus. I will say that obviously, if you'd asked me about a week and a half ago, I probably would have also said this was a good movie. So I can't even blame them. But holy shit. Do we think that 56 obviously we agree is not fair. That half the people that watch this movie shouldn't think it's a good movie, but do we think 18% is even too high?
I think it might be. I don't know. I just think this movie is so all over the place. I can't even say it doesn't have a good plot structure. It failed as a story.
To say the least.
It failed as a story. I think the film is edited in an insane way. I mean, we talked about this beforehand a little bit, but I thought it looked like dog shit with the way that
I think the editing and cinematography in particular are to a taste, I guess is the way to say it. Like,
yeah, I think it's a
if
taste.
this is your kind of thing, this is not a. It's not a good version of it. I won't go as far as to say that, but it's not a bad version of it. I mean, I will not to. I didn't really run down the technical team behind this, but the editor behind this film is William Goldenberg, not to be confused with William Goldberg, but William Goldenberg, who is an Oscar-winning, not nominated, winning editor for films like Argo, Zero Dark 30, The Imitation Game. He's also done cinematic classics such as The Sorcerer's Apprentice, Transformers, Dark of the Moon, Concussion.
Took me a second, but I don't think of those movies as having shitty editing. Like, okay, Transformers
No.
probably.
I mean,
but like,
Transformers is, but I also think that's mostly like Michael Bay just like
gotta cut on the CGI.
Yeah.
But this feels like, I don't know. It feels like to me, I'm like, he was handed a bunch of shaky cam footage. It was like, hey, put it together.
And I think that like Argo looks kind of obviously less like dipped in menthol. But Argo, the style of shooting and editing is very haptic and sort of chaotic. And I love the way that Argo's edited.
Yeah.
This movie is not... This is going to sound insane for a movie that literally won Best Picture. But I think the way this movie looks is not that far away from Argo. It is like a couple choices and a terrible script. Because it's very, very difficult to cut around a bad script. It is just... No. It's near impossible.
I don't think I kind of liked what they were going for. It just it just looked bad. It just I don't know. It just, to me, I'm like, I kind of get what you're going for, but it didn't seem like there was enough behind it. And the way the film was just so all over the place with both its timeline and the storytelling. Like, very clearly they had to add in the Lucy Liu scene as a way to make the narrative make sense, because without that, it would have been... It's
essentially the structure of the film, right? Because we have...
But I mean, that's what you have to do though. Like, for a film like that, when it's broken. I mean, as much as I like the very stupid comedy They Came Together, starring Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd, that movie apparently tested
Never actually watched that movie, to be honest.
I like that movie, but apparently the movie tested so horribly they had to include a dinner scene where they're explaining to Bill Hader about what happened in the relationship, just as a way to compose the film together. And that's what I felt like with this, where it was
it does seem like the voiceover is pretty, because Lucy Liu was not in the rest of the film at all.
She was there for one day.
You would think if she was part of the plan of the movie, she would at least be she would show up at the end to arrest her or something. But she's literally just in the scene where they cut back and forth between what's supposed to be the voiceover. And I bet you that's a good call. They probably didn't have a voiceover the first time through, and then had to people watch this and were even more confused than they were with the finished version.
I just couldn't imagine walking out of the second part this is honestly the better cut of this movie, but it's still shit. I don't imagine you finish this movie and be like, this is a good movie, because directors and producers had to watch this movie at least 30 times before it goes to theaters. At what point in the 30 times of watching the movie are you just a broken human being? Yeah, so you've seen it multiple times. Yes, are you a broken human being?
I was broken halfway through the first viewing, so for sure, multiple viewings. I've been broken long ago though. This movie's over 2 hours, which is the most insane part of it though.
And it feels every second of it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, thank God the movie's wrapping up, and I'm like, I have another 30 fucking minutes of this fucking movie. I was wish it was a tight 90.
I don't really normally complain about the length of movies. I think I get it why people do. People don't really have the patience to sit through a 3-hour movie. But I think if your movie is good and it deserves it, then you can have a long runtime.
It's all about pacing.
But there's no version of this movie that in the middle of it has a 15-minute Jerry Springer episode for some reason.
Yeah, that was insane, because also that entire thing didn't have anything to do with the rest of the movie at all.
And there's this really, really poorly tacked on scene afterward to sort of explain why it's in there, where they're just talking about how her plan was to go on Jerry Springer to get a platform so she could become a BET analyst to then talk about the healthcare system in America.
That's so many layers of how stupid that is.
Yeah.
So stupid. Also, by the way, that kind of funny in the real world that Monique ended up having her own BET talk show 5 years down the line. Just a weird like art imitates something, whatever.
Yeah. I guess also rest in peace to the legend Jerry Springer.
Oh yeah, shit! I just forgot he passed away.
Was going to be president at one point in his life, and then he paid for a prostitute with a check.
Son.
God damn.
You think he would know better?
Not to plug another podcast, but one of the best episodes ever of This American Life is the Jerry Springer episode where they talk about his like fall from literally who were comparing him to Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy.
It's like, why is it such a big deal if Jerry Springer pays for a prostitute with a check?
Well,
it's Jerry Springer.
Of Chicago at the time, so that's
say it
why.
again. Oh, is that what it
mayor
was?
Of Chicago.
He was the mayor. I forgot he was
Or
the mayor
he was
of Chicago.
going to be. They thought he was going to be the president of the United States of America.
Would have been better than Trump, probably.
Probably.
Not
okay,
probably.
So
He 100% would have been better than Trump. I don't know why I said the probably part.
We have a new segment specifically for this movie that's mostly born.
Dude, the press conferences will be fucking lit. Sorry, continue.
Mostly born of my experience of watching this movie, which is mostly my notes just became me asking hypothetical questions to nobody with no answers, hoping that it would maybe make me feel better about what was happening to me.
Do you want me to ask you something? Do you want me to answer some of these questions?
I mean, if you have any answers to any of these questions, please.
Yeah. I'll make some up.
So on my second run through, I basically wrote down every major question I had during watching the film. That's a pretty good technique, guys. If you're writing a script, is to go through and write down every question that you're happening with. I'm looking at Shay's notes. Holy fuck! I had to cut it down. So the original notes is even more insane, including such questions as, is this guy God? Are they hallucinating? Am I hallucinating?
Yeah, what was up with the hallucination?
I mean, I think it's supposed to be they see God on mescaline, and Tom Waits playing God tells them that there's a child who will become a great leader, so they need to give Monique $300,000.
Why did they include that?
I don't understand it at all, Corey. I don't understand it even a little bit. But let's run down every single question in chronological order I had during the watching of Domino. First up, can you shoot a man's whole arm off with a shotgun and have him live?
No. Next question. You can't. No, you can't. Like, he would bleed out.
It's a major plot point of this film, by the way. They shoot
Also,
a man's arm off with a shotgun, and then he just is, not only is he not dead, he's like walking around later.
What was up with that lap dance scene, too?
Oh, Corey, we will get to that. Don't worry. I still think nothing will ever beat the blowjob scene in Swordfish.
That's what I was getting PTSD flashbacks to. That's what I was like thinking. Like, why is this why is this making me mad? And I was like, more mad than it should have. But
if you haven't listened to our Swordfish podcast, please go back and check that out. That movie is also a true disaster.
True disaster. That's a great lesson in to see how far we can fall down the rabbit hole into the descent into madness. That's a good episode for that.
There is a scene in that movie where Hugh Jackman is forced to receive a blowjob while hacking into a computer, and I contend that is the worst scene ever in a film ever. And there's a scene in this movie that we will get to soon that is close to it. Next question: why is there a quarter that is in the donation tin of a British church? An American quarter.
Next question.
You can see the Queen's face, British pounds, underneath it. The quarter also returns as like a visual motif throughout the movie. It is this dumb thing in the script where she's like talking about how you either live or die as a 50-50 chance, flip of the coin.
Is she she's not Two-Face. I don't understand with that. Like, why would it not be like, her name is Domino. Why don't she just do something with dominoes, I guess? I don't know. Wouldn't that be the better motif?
It's a real missed opportunity.
Like, dominoes is like, honestly, look at this entire film. It literally starts with a small little thing, and then that little thing just explodes into what the end of... Why wouldn't they use the domino? It's right there. It's right there.
It's because we're better screenwriters than Richard Kelly. That's all that you really need to know. I'm going to drop this. Corey won't be able to hear it, so I hope you remember, but I'm going to drop this clip in the podcast. So
For a
you
10% fee, I will guarantee the amount set by the court. Now, if the defendant should fail to appear at his or her court date, I will bring in a bounty hunter to recapture the defendant. Or I will face having to repay the court costs myself, which we can't do.
Does Delroy Lindo not know how to say the word defendant?
I don't believe so.
There's this. Do you remember that scene though?
I do remember
where
that
he keeps
scene.
going, "You will have to bring me the defendant." It's so weird. He says it like 3 times. That was the beginning of when I thought, "Am I having a stroke while watching this movie?"
I think you are. I was. What's up with everyone's focusing on? I'm sorry. I'm also looking at the scene now. It's just. I just love I like the whole good old classic like glasses tip down whenever you're looking at a woman. Also, no offense to Keira Knightley, but like a lot of people focus on her ass in this movie.
Oh, we're gonna get to the ass. Don't worry. There is a we're gonna get to. Well, let's save.
Sorry, please continue.
Let's save Keira Knightley's ass for later in the podcast. Is a sentence I never wanted to say, but we're gonna have to.
I'm sorry. If you see first episode, we're not. This isn't what the podcast is. We're not Joe Rogan adjacent. This isn't what we're about.
Listen, I love Keira Knightley as an actress. She's a very beautiful woman. The ass thing in this movie is insane, and we will have to talk about it.
The camera keeps focusing on it like we're supposed to look at it a lot. It's like the camera keeps telling us, "Be like, look at this," and all the guys are like, "Ooh la la," but it's
the early 2000s were a different time, Corey.
It was a bad time.
How does this bounty hunter scam work? Doesn't Claremont Williams, bail bondsman, need bounty hunters? Why is he scamming them all out of $100?
I genuinely do not know. It's a very
he needs bounty hunters to get bounties.
It also
do
feels
his
like
job.
It feels like a big old waste of time too. It's like you wasted your afternoon for what, like $4,000?
If that.
I'm like trying to like how many people were in that room? Like, okay, you're right. At most, it was like 20 people.
At most, it was 20, and he has to split it between 2 other people
for reasons. Why does he need to split it? Never mind. Why does he even need them there? This is stupid.
Makes no sense.
Also, the guy who keeps speaking Spanish time movie, I was mad when she yelled at him because that shit was fucking annoying.
You mad when she yelled at him?
I'm happy when she did it because I was
And
I was like, thank fucking God. Like, yes, it was fucking infuriating.
Imagine if you had a friend who could speak English and just spoke a different language to you that you didn't understand, and like you were supposed to respond to it.
Yeah.
Why would you stop for gas with 4 masked armed robbers and $10 million of cash in your car?
Why would you take the mask off?
It's also, he doesn't, if the whole point is that he's running out of gas and it's a necessity, show us that he's running out of gas and needs to stop at the gas station, there's some urgency, or when he gets out of the car, don't have him say, I'm going to go get some gas and like a churro or some shit. You bitches sit right here. He has no urgency at all, walks in, asks for $8 worth of gas, and then turns around and sees the first ladies running out of the car. Also, it doesn't seem like he actually needed this gas at all, and it just was maybe the dumbest plan ever.
Also, why would you not fill up your gas tank if you can do a runaway? Like I guess with the insinuation is he's fucking stupid.
They don't even let you take your fucking driver's test if you have less than half a tank of gas. You're gonna rob $10 million from an armored truck? Wild. Why does it matter that these guys haven't been arrested, and why does that mean it's an inside job? They decide immediately because they don't have any bail bonds, which I know is not. If you're a bounty hunter, you need bail bonds because you're not just like hunting human beings for sport. But they are immediately like, oh, it must be an inside job. What must be an inside job?
I don't know.
What are you talking about?
It must be. It must be.
Why
Stupid.
must it be?
Why
Domino?
it must be?
Please tell us why. And also, this movie assumes we know a lot about the bounty hunter industry. It's weird.
Yeah,
they don't really explain like a whole lot about it.
And it's like, honestly, like to me watching this, because I mean, I never watched the Dog the Bounty or anything, but I kind of like feel like I've caught enough episodes in the background of wherever I was. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Bounty hunting, pretty fucking boring. I got to put that out there.
Yeah.
It's not. I get like back in the day westerns. That's cool bounty hunting. Star Wars, Mandalorian, cool bounty hunting. Regular bounty hunting in Los Angeles kind of fucking sucks.
Yeah, you're mostly like you're sort of like the same thing as those guys who go and serve people, where you just have to like walk up to them and say, "Is your name X?" and they go, "Yeah." You're served or whatever. And in this case, you just get arrested.
Yeah, it's like that's exactly what it is. Like, it's not fun, and it's really weird.
Yeah,
not good for cinema. Because I think people like used to think like bounty hunters like this is cool, but it's really boring actually.
Next question. So there is basically the crux of this movie, the insinuating moment that like propels the plot forward is that Drake Bishop, the man they steal the money from, sets out to basically kidnap and kill the first ladies that steal from him. But wasn't Drake Bishop told that his money was stolen by the cops?
Next question.
He just leaves the police station, or I think the FBI headquarters, and then and commits federal crimes that they definitely know he's going to be doing.
And also, I'm wondering is like, this is why I feel like they filmed a lot of shit that they cut around.
It's insane to think that there's probably like 2 more hours of this movie somewhere.
That bothers me. I mean, like, I'm sure some of the actors were like, "Oh, this isn't what I wanted." A lot of it. I mean, apparently even Domino Harvey had like a lot of issues with the way that it was portrayed, allegedly.
Of course, it's just not her life story.
No, it's not.
Why? So they run because they realize they've set up the wrong kids. Again, confusing why they need to set up anybody.
I think someone even pointed out like, why the fuck did you do that? Like, because of this, like we didn't have to do that. Like, it was also such a weird plan as well. I'm like, and this whole point was like, someone steals it and then they get caught. Why don't you just use the bounty hunters? Why would you why do you need to use why wouldn't it make more sense to do that instead of like 4 black women impersonating 3 white guys and a black dude? Like, I'm confused by that. Also, like,
who I think don't actually know each other.
No, I don't think so. Also, those 4 people who were thieves, they don't seem like they actually would run in the same circles. Am I wrong?
That's the funniest part is it's like when you see that when they're getting captured by Domino's crew, you're like, what an incredibly weird collection of criminals that shouldn't know each other at all. And also, not only shouldn't know each other at all, we see when I don't remember his name, so I have to call him the black guy. When the black guy gets picked up, he's hanging out with Macy Gray.
Yeah.
They know this motherfucker.
Yeah, like, it's like, he's like a recording producer or something. It's like, he seems like he's like,
weird.
Just like working his job and then he just gets fucking busted up by these 3 fucking weirdos.
As I said at the beginning, the main question about this movie is why isn't this just a movie about people stealing $10 million? But it's not. It's something very weird and different. We'll keep running through these questions. Next up, who I had written down here, which then circles back because we get the answer. But I wrote down who shoots the first ladies because it absolutely doesn't make any sense in the plot. And then it turns out later, and this is my least favorite part of the entire movie. I actually kind of loathed it. It's like the reveal is that this thing that we were shown is not true, which I just wanted to I put this kept this in the notes after the question was nulled out, but was basically rendered mute because I think there's 3 different kinds of twists, right? There's the kind of twist, and this is the best kind, I think, and the hardest to do, where the audience knows everything that the characters know. And the twist still lands. And I think you have that like in Arrival. You know everything that everybody knows in Arrival. And the twist is still really satisfying.
Damn good twist.
There's the twist where you are withheld some information that some of the characters know, but you follow along with at least 1 or 2 of the characters' point of view, and you get like a good twist in the end. Obviously, like a classic version of that is Sixth Sense, where it is revealed that Bruce Willis is dead the whole time. I guess spoilers. I don't really care.
That would be, if you don't know I'll be honest with you, I'm really wondering the one person who's like, I did not know
There is probably one guy, but
it was on my list of the M. Night Shyamalan marathon.
Right.
God, hey dude, don't watch those movies. He's not a good director.
Or obviously
director.
Star Wars, where
True.
we know everything Luke knows, we don't know everything Darth Vader knows, but the twist is that we find out Darth Vader reveals to us. The worst kind of twist, and the twist that is in this movie, is where the movie just lies to you. It tells you a thing happened that didn't happen. It's in voiceover. It's shown on screen. We watch these 4 people get shot, and then later in the movie, Domino just goes, turns out they weren't shot. Which is not a twist. It's a lie.
It's like...
It's not how you tell stories.
No, it's not. I mean, I think they're kind of going for, like... I'm assuming this is after Usual Suspects. I mean, that's why they're even fucking doing the whole interrogation scene.
Oh, such a good fucking movie.
Such a good movie.
Not to say good things about...
Fuck you, Bryan Singer.
Kevin Spacey and Bryan Singer in it. But,
yeah, but still, great movie. But fuck those guys. But like, honestly, I mean, I'm looking at the same thing. But like, this person unreliable narrator. But the thing about it is, with that twist, we get it at the end, and then we fill in the blanks from that. It's not the same at all. Also, and that twist itself.
And that's him lying to the police.
But he's and he's also and also in the same way though, he's not necessarily lying about the story that we're being told.
Right.
He's just leaving out some details, and that the details that we learn later on haven't changed anything with the story.
I think the beauty of the twist in Usual Suspects is that he doesn't actually lie at all, really.
No,
he tells
doesn't.
everything that happened and just happens to leave out the fact that he's doing all this shit. These guys are so say, right? Great fucking movie. Might watch it again tonight. Couple more questions. We'll blaze through quick because we are, as usual, long. Why would they take this motherfucker's arm off, even if, which isn't what happens, but even if Claremont asked them to, even if Claremont was like, you have to shoot his arm off, why would these 3 bounty hunters do this?
They are also super down to murder.
They don't question anything that they do.
They're bounty hunters. I don't believe that they're still wanted, dead or alive.
Corey, there's a line at the beginning of this movie where Domino says the words, I never wanted to kill anybody.
Yeah, you seem like you fucking did, actually. Wasn't much hesitation in your The God scene. The God scene is still baffling.
It's crazy. Speaking of the God scene, no one died in the worst car accident I've ever seen filmed.
God.
The bus flips over 400 times and then crashes into a mountain. And they all walk away. Why are the actors still there?
Why are the actors in this movie?
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't watched it, there is a running bit where 2 of the members of Beverly Hills 90210, let's see, let me just find their names because I don't remember who they are.
Well,
Brian Austin Green and Ian Ziering are just in the whole movie as themselves, and it's they're there until essentially the climax, and it is entirely confusing what they're doing in this film.
It's like, it really does feel like they kind of like somebody like called in a favor for them just to kind of be there and get dunked on, I guess.
Yeah.
I would love to get dunked on for how much money they probably made from this movie. Dunk on me the entire time.
This movie hardcore tanked, so I think.
Oh no, but I'm saying their paychecks didn't get affected by those tankings though, so.
Probably didn't have points on the back end. That's true.
No.
And the last question, and I think this one irritated me the most because it is this moment where the film tries to get like a real poignant moment when it hasn't earned this shit at all. And my question is, why are they going back to save Elf, who they didn't like? They didn't even learn this motherfucker's name, and had literally just fucked them. He has fucked them hard by stealing all their money and putting a bunch of bags full of bombs in the drop.
Yeah, that.
Why are they saving this dude?
Also, what the fuck was that point of that plot as well? Like, he just sent $10 million to
I think we're in like
a random village in Afghanistan. What the fuck?
I think we're very much in peak war in Afghanistan post 9/11. Like I think again, speaking of Swordfish, which actually was pre 9/11 somehow.
Yeah, that movie felt like it definitely. That movie felt like it came out a month after 9/11.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, I think this was just a thing that was on everyone's mind, and like how everything in 2022, there was a random like Bitcoin story in everything. I think for years after 9/11, no matter what your movie was about, there was randomly a Afghani terrorist in it for no reason. And one of the worst written characters ever, obviously incredibly offensive. They do this weird, stupid thing at the end where they try and salvage his hero. Like he becomes a hero, even though throughout the movie he hasn't been a character at all.
No, not at all. That was the entire, like, I'm like, and it really was like, I feel like it was just a blink and you miss it moment. I'm like, and it's like, why the fuck is this money, like, there, and, like, what is it doing? It's, like, in some random village, but is the village supposed to be prosperous? It's just fucking stupid.
I think it's, like, this movie grasping at straws, trying to get a good ending, where basically what happens is $9,700,000 of this stolen mob money goes to the poor people in Afghanistan to fight the rebel cause, and $300,000 of it goes to black family in pursuit of
The future leader.
the future leader to like subvert the American healthcare system. And
So fuck America?
It has like this weird political ideology that sides on at the end of the movie that doesn't exist anywhere throughout it. And
But yet the
so
focus of the
cheap
film
and
is
unearned.
about, but it's felt, most of the film's about bail bonds.
Bail bonds,
Which is a
bounty
very
hunters who are
a systematic
poor people.
Yeah, systematic problem, and that's you cannot have a political message with this movie.
Basically, a rich white girl who decides to cosplay as a poor person bounty hunting.
That's 100% what this was.
And then they were like, actually, what this movie's about is uplifting the lower class of society, and this is actually a communist film.
Duh.
Long live Mao is all I have to say.
Duh.
Anything else to say, Corey, before we take a break and come back and talk more about this?
No, not much else.
Piece of shit cinema. All right.
No.
We'll be back in a second.
God created me in his image. I guess he had a thing for models. Like most models, I was bored with life. I hated everything and everyone. If you think America is dirtbag central, clearly you've never been to the sleaze nation of our Queen Mother.
And we're back.
So,
All right, so time to jump into some specific things we pulled out for the worst things in this movie, and there was a lot. We had to cut it down for time because, as you guys know, I could talk about movies for 1,000 hours, but you guys don't want to listen to that. So we'll jump into
but if
first.
you do, we have about 1,000 hours worth of content. So
we
just
got a lot. We are approaching. We didn't do any of the business up top. We are off our game. That was bad podcasting by us. But if you are enjoying this and this is your first time, don't forget to like and subscribe, all that stuff. We've got our 300th episode coming up, which we are still trying to figure out what exactly we're going to do. Something special. We'll figure it out. But that should be a good time. But that is to say, we have to continue with this mess of a film. And first up is one of my favorite segments, and that is, do you know what happens when a toe gets struck by lightning award for the worst line in a movie?
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
And we've got 6 nominations here, starting up the top. You want to run them down, Corey? Should I?
That's our driver, Alf. He's from Afghanistan.
Dale pa' jugo, muévete.
He once ate a cat.
Epa, mamá, huevo, mueve ese culo, marico, apúrate.
We can't understand how to pronounce his fucking name, so we just call him the cat-eating alien.
So a room full of writers was like, you know what's funny? White people who can't say names of people from other countries. That's funny. Check. You know what's also funny? Alf. Check.
Why
Is this one of the worst age jokes you've ever seen?
It's up there. It's up there.
Do you think anybody in Gen Z knows what the fuck Alf is?
No. We were
Just
too
for
young.
reference, if anybody listening to this.
We were too young for Alf. And also, as a kid, I saw Alf, and it sucked.
Alf is a terrible television show, just by the way. But for anybody who doesn't know what Alf is, doesn't know what we're talking about, he is an alien that eats cats. That was one of the running bits on this awful sitcom. But more importantly, a sitcom that ended 15 years before the release of Domino.
Who's that joke for?
Couldn't have been a more timely reference, these fucking clowns. Next up, Corey.
Domino. God created me in his image. Guess he had a thing for models.
It doesn't even make any sense.
No.
Because God creating you in his image suggests the whole point of it that God's supposed to look like a human. It doesn't mean that he wants to fuck models.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Now, I will say, if you've read any Greek mythology, the gods, they do want to fuck models, but that's not what this quote is about.
That's not what the quote says.
Now, Zeus was a horny motherfucker, though. I will say that.
This is in relation to the weird seminar fake out thing that Delroy.
It is. I have to say, it is.
It's a funny line.
One of my favorite lines in the history of film. Actually, it's terrible, but Keira Knightley delivers it with such a plum. Go for it.
I'm not doing it credit, but here's the words, guys.
What the fuck is this?
Where the fuck do you think you're going? Those people paid for a seminar.
Those people paid for a seminar. Imagine. I think anybody's ever screamed the word seminar in anger.
No, not with that ferocity.
It's so funny. And it was at that point in the movie where I was like, oh, is this movie a comedy? And then it doesn't really.
It really should have been a comedy.
Oh my god! Those people paid for a seminar is such a funny thing to say. It's actually it's near genius comedic structure because it's so silly to the point of being almost nonsensical, and it is like absurdist in a sort of a beautiful way. But it's not supposed to be funny, and that's what makes it so awful. I love it. All right, next.
All right, next one. Ed, Mickey Rourke's character. Hey, that's an ass. Now circling back on the whole Keira Knightley, the Tony Scott cinematic trying to gaslight the audience. It's not told you. Once again, this is not our podcast. But why are they making us focus on this so much?
This reminded me. So obviously we've talked. It is like a running theme for anybody who's watched any of these episodes. I recommend go back and checking them all. They're all a good time. But a running theme throughout 90s, early 2000s action movies was objectification of women. Obviously it still happens, still a big problem in Hollywood, but it's less overt, thankfully. But this actually reminds me. This line stuck with me because it's a thing that has been like burrowed into my head for years. So for those of you who are familiar with the show Scrubs, there is this scene in Scrubs that is a show that is running around the time of this. I just want to double check. When is Scrubs out? Scrubs.
I think it's around this time.
Scrubs starts in 2001 and runs, the original run is till like 2007. So really like spans this movie. There is this scene in Scrubs where JD, one of the worst characters to ever be on television, sees a woman walking toward him who is has big breasts. And he's very excited. We see his face. He's super happy. And she walks past, and then he looks at her back, and she's got a huge ass. And me, being me, I'm like, cool, great. Yeah. Cuts back to JD's face, and he like throws up in his mouth. And that's the joke. The joke is, and I looked it up in the script. The script is, and I quote, he sees that she is as stacked as she is in the back, as she is up front, and he is disgusted. This is a thing that in the 2000s and the 90s, they were trying to tell us that really all women, not that, listen, we're absolutely not here to body shame Keira Knightley. Keira Knightley.
Not at all.
Anybody, you want to look however you want, beautiful. It's insane to me that there was a time in life where we were like, well, people with big asses are ugly.
Yeah, that's
This scene is so weird because it's basically, one, up until this point, we didn't know that Mickey Rourke wanted to fuck Keira Knightley. It does come back later in this movie for some reason.
Yeah, and it's like
goads Choco by saying he's going to go into her room and have sex with her, which is not a thing that had been in the film before
at all. And also, that scene's also super weird because he's just watching porn by himself, just like shirtless and like just like doing nothing but just straight up like watching it like it's a TV show.
It's so funny. He still has his pants on. And
yeah,
just in his room, and he lets Choco into his room and doesn't like change the channel. And then when Choco destroys the TV, it is actually genuine. Not even like ironically. One of my favorite lines in the movie is when he just goes, "I'll never." God damn it, Choco! Now I'm never gonna know how it ends. It's so fun. Mickey Rourke is probably the only good part of this movie to be.
He's enjoying. I think Mickey Rourke kind of knows what he's like, where he is in this film,
Absolutely.
and I think he knows what he. And I think like him just kind of being there is fine. Honestly, it's one of the things about this film I was like, I kind of wish they just left out was that a whole like Mickey Rourke's weird like obsession with her, like that doesn't really pop up too much.
It's in two scenes, and it destroys their relationship.
Yeah, it destroys the character. Because I kind of did like the idea of him just being like a mentor character who's just very much like, hey, fuck it, you're a woman, I don't give a shit. Like, let's just fuck. And then that gets just immediately destroyed because writers in Hollywood are horny.
If you cut even the scene with Choco, you can play off as him more fucking with Choco than objectifying Domino. But this scene is ridiculous. One, because it is, as all things in this movie, racially charged, because obviously throughout the early 90s and 2000s, it was like the whole joke, oh, black guys love big butts and white guys don't. And it's like it is like this racial divide that is played off as a joke among mostly white comedic writers who were hacks. And this line really pissed me off. One, because I think the scene is poorly structured, doesn't make any sense, and as we said, destroys this kind of could be interesting relationship between these two characters for the audience. She doesn't say this, but also is like body shaming, racism, sexism. A lot of shit. It runs the fucking gamut like I've never seen. It's crazy. But I won't keep talking about it because there's no reason to. Next line, Corey.
There are three kinds of people. This is coming from Domino. There are three kinds of people in this world: the rich, the poor, and everyone in between. A line that I feel like I've heard countless times, and every time I hear it, it still sucks.
It doesn't mean anything. It's
doesn't.
Not profound at all.
It's not.
Obviously, if you say there are three kinds of people in this world, Corey: short people, tall people, and everyone in between. It's obviously that's how numbers work.
I think, Jay, before that, with the God created me in his image, I guess he had a thing for models. I think she's not much of a wordsmith or a philosopher.
Yeah, but
it's stupid.
But I guess the movie never contends with that fact. You can have dumb characters in your film. I think it'd be a weird move to make your movie that you're like your biopic about this character that you're sort of glorifying to then make her an idiot on purpose.
Yeah, no, it's
but you have to contend with the idea that she's not smart. If your character is supposed to be stupid enough to say things like there are three kinds of people in this world, the rich, the poor, and everything in between, then you have to address it. You have to have something. Or else, I think, which is what is happening here, I think that Richard Kelly thinks this is a good line. Which it isn't. It doesn't mean anything. It's not profound. Obviously, there are three kinds of everything if you go low end, high end, everything in between. Corey, there's three kinds of pizzas. Yes. Small pizzas, large pizzas, and everything in between.
Fuck you.
Last line for the people, Corey.
Sounds like we got a Negro deep throat here. Right?
All right, let's move on to worse scenes.
Well, you have to explain that line because otherwise people who watch this movie will be very confused. This is when Claremont calls up Anthony Sigliuti to tell him that his money's been stolen, and which is not what Deep Throat did.
No.
Deep Throat exposed one of the greatest crimes in American history, but whatever. And so my guy Anthony Sigliuti, definitely, I think they should have just gone. Honestly, I would have respected it more if they'd gone the whole way. They were just had him say nigger. They were like, we got ourselves a nigger Deep Throat. Better line, to be honest, because this guy's supposed to be a scumbag. I don't think scumbags were saying Negro in the 2000s.
No, they weren't.
I have to be honest with you.
I don't think they were either.
Corey, what's the worst line of those 6, though?
Oh, man. I think
those people paid for a seminar.
It has to be that one.
It's so fucking stupid.
Because it's stupid, and they wrote it. It's just, yeah, no, I don't think there's a stupider line than that.
And an Academy Award nominated actress who I think is fantastic, as I've said multiple times in this podcast, delivers it so poorly too. On top of the fact that it's an awful line of dialogue.
It's like, I feel like all of her lines are just fucking stupid, and it's like she's, the character's just dumb.
Yeah,
and I think that's
really
like, honestly, I would be like, that's why another reason I'd be bad of a biopic. If they had me saying God created me in an image, guess he had a thing for Miles, I would be furious with the writer over that one. Because this is stupid.
It's very, very, very bad.
For a character trying to portray as being like a badass, but in the end of the day, I mean, the movie kind of makes her just seem like, dumb, and as we said, a rich girl, like, cosplaying as someone who's struggling for money.
And we should clarify, as we said at the beginning, this movie actually has nothing to do with the real Domino.
No, not
we
at
are
all.
criticizing how stupid this character is and
Yes.
everything. And I think it's actually because I believe this could have been an interesting character, interesting movie about Domino Harvey, the real person. What they've done is they've created a ridiculous caricature of a human being that doesn't exist. And it's like, in a lot of ways, one of the most genuinely tragic parts of this movie is that she passes, and this is the lasting part of her legacy. It's, I think, genuinely offensive. But let's move on to worse scenes before we get too serious on this comedy podcast, basically. We got 3 nominations for worse scenes. I think I've been pretty on the record that we shouldn't take any of them when we say at all seriously.
Oh, never.
We are unserious people.
That's very true.
But we've already addressed this, but Corey, you want to run down these 3 nominations?
Yeah, sure. The worst scene we're starting off with is the lap dance bargain. In the scene, Domino and company are chasing after a bounty, and they go to the house, but they're led to another home from their bounty's wife. Mm-hmm. At this other home, it is full of gangsters waiting for them to ambush them. In order to get
many guns in this scene,
yes,
really?
So many. In order to get the information for where the guy's bounty is, Keira Knightley offers to give one of them a lap dance. And the guy gave the information up. The scene is pointless. It's really stupid, and it makes
it's not just
no
pointless.
sense.
It's like makes me so sad for Keira Knightley.
It makes me sad for Keira Knightley. It makes me sad for like the writers. It makes me sad for everybody who signed off for it. And even like during the scene, it's just like clearly it's like no one really knew what to do with their hands during the moment, and it's just like everyone's just kind of like cutting everybody else, and like this is weird.
I always wonder how you direct a scene like this. Is it just a guy behind the camera going, more like porn, but not quite porn?
Yeah.
We can't do porn.
We can't get all the way there. We can't be all the way horny. We can only be somewhat horny.
Oh, it's so...
Also, if whoever you are, don't give your friend up for a lap dance.
Oh my God. If I found out, Corey, let me be I'm going to say this on the record on this podcast.
I'm going to kill you.
If I'm on the run from the cops and some woman, no matter who it is, no, that's not true. There's 2 women I'd slide for.
Who?
I don't want to list them here.
You don't have the name.
In case they're listening. You
That's
never know.
Fair.
Zendaya might be a fan of the podcast.
Well, there's one.
But if I ever found out, I would escape prison and I would kill you so fast.
You're fucking allowed to. I do not blame you.
Next up on the list, we have oh my God. Just a Jerry Springer episode?
Yeah, that was weird.
In the middle of our movie?
That was that was really fucking weird. Like For
It
what
runs
reason?
for so long. It has nothing to do with the film.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna come back as like a weird, like maybe come back around as like an explanation or something. Nope, it's just a weird Jerry Springer comedic bit that's really just kind of stupid and offensive to everybody involved.
And the joke of the scene is like Chi-Negro, which is Monique's.
Someone was really obsessed with the word Negro when they were writing the script. Also, Chi-Negro is just it like I almost stopped the movie at that point.
It's really it's quite bad. It's even worse when you realize this entire movie's just made by white guys.
Yeah.
Richard Kelly's a white guy. Tony Scott, who I obviously have said I love, is a very white guy. Jerry Springer is a white guy. This scene just feels... It's really gross in a lot of ways. But on top of being just gross, it's so stupid and unfunny and poorly written. And like, again, as we said, has nothing to do with the film. It's so weird it's in here. For a scene to be this bad and have absolutely no consequence on the plot of the film is just odd. It's very weird.
Very weird.
Oh, all right, but...
All right, the last scene.
And I've been showing the clips of the other ones on the YouTube.
You can't.
Check out the YouTube. I literally cannot show you the clip of this scene, so it will not be on the YouTube.
It's a sex scene that takes place during a weird hallucination, and...
After... all of their bones have been turned into liquid by the worst car crash of all time.
But also, it's between two characters who don't seem to like each other. And there's no, like...
Who we haven't actually seen, up until this point, speak the same language to each other.
Yeah, no,
by the way.
Yeah, and, like, even when she's, like, stopped speaking another language, he just walks away without actually saying anything to her. It's, like, really bizarre. I don't get it. And also, that character is just fucking annoying. Like, it's Shay mentioned, like, it'd just be so fucking annoying if someone just spoke to you in a different language. Even though they can understand you. Like, why are you being like this, dude?
And it's such a silly construct of, like, a poorly written script. Like, because, like, in the movie, obviously, the joke is that he's, like, speaks Spanish to somebody, and then they respond as though they can speak English sometimes, or speak Spanish sometimes, and other times they don't. Which, in reality, if anybody was just speaking to you in a language you didn't understand, you would just go, huh, what? And then that would be the end of the scene. But...
What did you say? Blah blah blah. Oh, I don't speak Spanish.
I don't speak Spanish. Yeah, I mean, it is as sort of like the rest of this movie, the rest of these three scenes. It is cut and paste from like some executive's notes that was basically like, you know, Keira Knightley's like real hot right now. We need to get her naked and doing sexy stuff in your movie. I don't know how that's going to work in your bounty hunter film, but just make sure she's naked in the desert at one point. And they just do that.
Yeah.
There's no explanation at all. We obviously,
well, it's also lap dance. Like, yeah, Keira Knightley's hot. Make her strip for some guy.
Yeah. Has no relevance to the plot. Like, listen. As somebody who, one of his most anticipated television shows of the year was this Fatal Attraction adaptation. I like when there's sexy stuff in movies. I think movies and TV shows should be sexy. It's like fun, and when everyone is consenting, it's good. When you do shit like this, it's just weird.
It's just very weird. It's just super weird and super uncomfortable.
And again, their bones would be liquid. They wouldn't exist anymore.
No, they wouldn't.
Crawl out of this car crash and immediately start having sex with each other. It's crazy.
Stupid ass movie.
What's the worst of those three scenes, though, Corey? I actually think this one's a very difficult choice.
I got to go with the lap dance scene, though. I think the lap dance scene, the Jerry Springer thing's stupid, but it didn't like offend me. It offended me, but like not like to the point of like disgust. The lap dance scene, like I had to like rewind and be like, okay, did I miss something right now?
The first watch through, I paused it when she goes, I'll give you a lap dance as an exchange for your friend. I was like, there's no way somebody wrote that. There's no way that somebody wrote that. And they did.
It's stupid.
They really did write it. Holy shit. Yeah, this movie's really truly awful, and we are gonna take a break and we're gonna come back and quickly we're gonna try to remake this film so that it's not truly awful.
The fuck you want?
We're not cops, we're bounty hunters. All we want is Hector.
Fuck you and the fucking popos, bitch!
You tell me where he is, and I'll give you.
Yo, what?
Sometimes a girl has to be naughty in order to get herself out of a jam. I'll give you a lap dance.
Fuck you,
I'll
bitch,
give
man.
you-
Fuck you, bitch.
I'll give you a lap dance, bra and panties on.
Man, if I wanted to let us go to a strip joint, motherfucker.
Come on, you and me. You know you want it.
Hey, what do you think, dog?
Well, let's see what the fuck this bitch is working with, homie.
I'm offering it to you, baby. Come on.
Is that right? Take off your clothes, bitch.
Sit down.
And we're back.
So,
All right, so welcome to the production offices of Bishop and Shabazz. You have brought in your script for... Well, no, you haven't brought in your script. We have a script. That's how this works. We have a script for the 2023 remake, really redemption. Of this garbage 2005 film, Domino. And the question is, how the fuck do we make this movie good for the year 2023? So Corey's going to go first. He's going to run down his creative team and acting ensemble. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Corey. Go ahead.
all right, well, Domino, but good this time. I got directing this as one of my... I think I've probably used him before in this. But this seems like a movie that really wants to be very fast-paced and really witty. Some good action. And it seemed like it'd want to be up its own ass a little bit. And I picked Guy Ritchie for that. Just thinking as much as I like thinking about The Gentleman and like movies that are very disjointed but are still told in a very concise method that makes it understandable and well done. And I got Christina Hodson, writer for Bumblebee and Birds of Prey. Referencing Birds of Prey, where I really liked what they were going for with it, but it's also another movie that's a very disjointed storytelling. But I thought the movie itself was very okay, not bad, but I thought the story itself was good. And I think that the two of them together could make a really good story combined with Guy Ritchie's touch to make a very well done, quick, action-oriented movie. Because I think that's what I really want to go for. I feel like this movie did miss that a lot. I feel like the movie it was like about bounty hunting, but none of it really felt interesting. And the gunfight sucked. It wasn't good. Bounty hunting
I would
sucks.
suggest nothing in this movie works.
Not at all. But for the titular Domino, I'm gonna go with Haley Stanfield. Wanted another young person, but I kind of felt like the whole part of the character is like a bit of like a tragic character in a way, just because I don't know, she's kind of young and she just gets thrown into this entire weird world and just kind of like all of it kind of just makes her life kind of blow up in a way. And for her mentor, definitely not creepy guy, I go with Benicio del Toro. Definitely just don't want to get rid of all the Mickey Rourke weird lines and stuff like that. I don't.
They were so close. All they did was cut out 2 scenes and we would have been fine.
And for the other bounty hunter, I want Shamir Anderson. I don't really even know if I want to lean into the romance plot. I don't really think that's really what's.
Do you think he's recovered from all the fucking stairs by now?
Nope, nobody has.
That scene is preposterous.
And as kind of the bail bondsman, I guess, leader of it, I'm gonna get a Bokeem Woodburn. Awesome. I'm trying to get more work than everything I can, just as a general.
Bokeem Woodbine should be in every movie. I agree with you.
Yes. And finally, wasn't sure what I wanted to do with her, but I knew I wanted to kind of include her. At one point, I was like, do I want her to be the FBI person again? But I realized I don't want to fucking do that whatsoever because I think it's fucking stupid. Yeah, so I kind of want Sigourney Weaver to be the antagonist in the movie. Maybe it's a mob boss, or maybe if we want to lean more into the television side of things. But I think if we're gonna be doing this, it kind of has to be a different film entirely. Yeah. I think it needs to focus on them going after a high-profile target, or if it's gonna be a heist film, we need to establish that it's a heist film from the get-go. But yeah, I think that's the cast I want to put into with a reboot. I just feel like they didn't know what the fuck they wanted to do with that movie, and I think what I would want to do
10 different things.
It's doing 10 different things at one time. Yeah, exactly. And I'm very okay with like a bounty hunter who like gets in over her head or some shit like that. But maybe like a bounty hunter who's hunting down somebody who and they find themselves in over their heads, and maybe they kill the wrong person and they're getting hunted down. But definitely have the focus be about the bounty hunting and not some weird convoluted robbery scheme that feels like it's from a different movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure I'm forgetting, but when you said it, I was like, has Sigourney Weaver ever played a villain before? I'm sure it's happened. I can't think of a movie where it's happened, but it wasn't a
TV show, but I feel like it was very underutilized in The Defenders, and I feel like I felt like she was super underutilized in that. So, but that's why I was really excited to see her in that role. But I definitely, I think she just would do really well with a villain monologue. I think I feel like she'd be such a good like I'm flexing on you kind of character.
I like that casting and crew a lot. I was myself considering.
I think like even like the whole like idea of them accidentally getting involved with a mob boss's son could really work. It's like they are like on a bounty, they're picking up some guy they don't know that well, like something goes wrong and they kill him. Yeah. And then they're like, oh shit, and then they find out who it is, and now they're being chased down by Sigourney Weaver and company or some shit.
As we said, this movie should just be a movie about people stealing $10 million or like
pick one as the
a bounty or something. Or it should be a biopic about Domino Harvey. It shouldn't be five different things and none of them work.
Exactly. I think like for mine, I am definitely leaning into more of just like the action side of things. But I think there's also a really interesting movie to be told about just like this like a kind of tragic story to be told about the actual human being behind this.
Yeah, which is where I told Corey I was really vacillating between those two different versions of this movie when I was trying to myself think of a remake, and the two that I had really stuck in my head was this really like gruesome, brutal action movie about a model turned bounty hunter, which I think is like a really great idea for an action movie, and I'm so annoyed that they squandered it on this garbage film, or a really harried, like gut-wrenching biopic about this ultimately really tragic figure. And that movie, I think, has like a real Safdie Brothers energy to me for people who have seen, obviously, Uncut Gems or my favorite Safdie Brothers movie, Good Time. I picture that sort of thing. But ultimately, unless I sort of cut you off. Unless you have anything else to say about
No, I'm done. I'm done with mine.
All right. So what I decided to go. I quickly wanted to mention, not that. I wanted to mention a couple of the directors I was considering. One was, you've seen Green Room, right?
Yeah.
So I thought about Jeremy Saulnier from the director of Green Room, which is, for those of you who haven't seen it, a truly epically brutal, excellent film about people stuck in like a green room.
That movie is
pursued
brutal.
By neo-Nazis. That's sort of like the tone I really want for like this action movie. I think should be grimy as fuck, which also led me to Lynn Ramsey, who is one of my favorite film makers right now. If you guys haven't seen You Were Never Really There or Never Really Here, her 2017 Joaquin Phoenix movie, that's another absolutely sickening action movie. Love that shit. I landed on Nicholas Winding Refn, who I'm sure I'm fucking up his last name. He is a Danish filmmaker who I will admit is not quite on a heater at the moment as far as I'm concerned. I have not loved his most recent stuff, including The Neon Demon, which is his most recent film, or Copenhagen Cowboy, which came out last year, his Netflix series. But the thing I love about Refn, one, he made Only God Forgives and Drive, which are two of my favorite, like, shockingly violent action movies and two of my favorite Gosling performances ever. He also did Too Old to Die Young, the Ed Brubaker series from Amazon from a few years ago that I think is highly underrated. But I love the way his movies are really stylized, and he loves obviously like these neon colors for anybody who's seen any of his stuff, and these like pulsating action sequences with like just really tactile moving cameras. I really love that shit. I think that could really work well in a film like this. And I think what Domino was really going for. I think he actually Refn would suggest that he is quite influenced by Tony Scott, if you asked him. So yeah, that's what I was thinking for director. As far as writer, this one was shockingly easy to get to, and that is Brian Helgeland, who has directed has written on one hand some, like, I think really good biopics. 42, the Jackie Robinson biopic from Jesus Christ, 10 years ago now. That's crazy. I thought it was like a couple of years ago. As well as obviously classics like Mystic River, the LA Confidential, The Order, which is sneakily one of my favorite of his, and then of course, as we talked about before, the Tony Scott action film Man on Fire that he also wrote. So that's why I landed on Helgeland. And last but not least, we've got our starring, which is as the titular Domino, who I think I have used before, but I have been watching her recent show, Totally Completely Fine, and that is Thomasine McKenzie. And in that show, it is not an action movie, but or an action television show, but she has a real, like, Domino energy, kind of like this lost fuck up who has, like, a soft side to her, but is, like, trying to shut the whole world out. And I just really love Thomasine McKenzie. I think she's an excellent performer ever since I saw her in Leave No Trace years ago. She's so fantastic. And I also have in the Bounty Hunters Antonio Banderas, who is capable of both equally suave, like, handsome old guy energy and also true fuck up energy. And I think you kind of need both of those for a role like this. And then one of my favorite working actors who I think doesn't get any work and who I think I've come back to the well for a few times, Trevante Rhodes.
So crazy that he's not more popular than he is. It's just,
I mean, listen, we were talking about asses a couple minutes ago. This man is fucking stacked. Jacked. He's a beautiful jacked man who's a great actor. What's going on, Hollywood? Well, why isn't he in all these movies?
It's actually kind of impressive that he is, like, not in everything or has not been cast in a Marvel movie. It's, at this point, I'm just kind of surprised.
He was in last year another unsung piece of television, Mike, where he's playing Mike Tyson, and like I said, he's fucking swole in that, and he's really good. But of course, I'm thinking a lot about his character in Moonlight, one of the greatest movies of all time, where he's playing this really stoic, closed off, but under the surface, you just, like, poke a little deep, you find something really sweet and kind. I think that's exactly what they were going for with a character like Choco. I think it's unsuccessful because they turned him into, like, a caricature of a Latin person, which I think is not what we're going for here. As a villain, the legend that is Brendan Gleeson. I don't think he needs any introduction from me.
No, he does not.
And a comedic relief, which is what I think the attempt was for Monique. Somebody who is a quote-unquote regular person who gets pulled into this scheme and unwittingly.
The Jerry Springer scene makes her not a regular person at that point.
It's true, but she's suffering from regular people problems, like dealing with the healthcare system. But an actress who I really like right now, Shasir Zamata, who I think is just really funny and really charming and would be just a great addition to an action movie. And I'm really excited to see her. She's going to be in that Agatha Coven of Witches show.
Oh, shit.
So I'm excited for more people to be
excited for that show. It seemed everything I heard about that show's coming out sounds really interesting. I want to see your movie more. I want to see my movie, honestly, just because I want another good movie from Nicholas.
I think he has what should I say? I think he has really cool ideas. In the Neon Demon, which, like I said, I didn't really love. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on. I'm excited for his coming movie, which I think is actually. Is it?
I completely forgot about the Neon Demon. It's sad to hear that it wasn't really.
There are people. It's another one of those that I think has a cult following. I think there are people who really connect with it, and stylistically, it looks really cool. Still, I'm
gonna check it out because I'm definitely one of those people who can be like, I see what you're going for.
Yeah, and I mean the cast is Elle Fanning, Christina Hendricks, Keanu Reeves, Carl Goldsman, Jenna Malone. Like the cast is nutty. So I'm not saying it's not a bad movie. I just don't really love it.
That's fair.
But as we always do. Well, Corey, do you want to quickly run down your cast and crew? Before we close out this podcast.
Sure. I got Bokeem Woodbine as as the bail bondsman. I'm doing the opposite order now because I was unprepared.
My bad.
No, it's okay. Shamir Anderson as our Choco stand-in. Sigourney Weaver as our antagonist. Benicio del Toro as our mentor figure, Haley Stanfield as our protagonist, Domino, Christina Hodgson as the writer, and directed by Guy Ritchie. I want to see your movie so much better. So much more.
But listen, I have a sickening obsession with this segment, and it's probably not healthy. I spent like 4 hours running this shit down, so I wouldn't worry too much about. I really listen. I think I'm the only person that still hasn't seen this Guy Ritchie movie, The Covenant, and still wants to see it. Like I still really like Guy Ritchie, so I would love to see your movie too. Don't get me wrong. I'll run down mine really quick. So of course I have directing by Nicholas Winding Refn, written by Brian Helgeland, starring Thomasine McKenzie, Antonio Banderas, Trevante Rhodes, Sashir Zamata, and Brendan Gleeson. And I think if we'd ever got any of these movies, they'd obviously be, would you say, 10,000 times better than this Domino?
I think it's not hard. I think, Che, me and you could probably sit down and write something in 1 hour and film it in a week, and it'll be better than this movie.
Well, you're acting like we're not the Black Coen brothers, though. You say that like we're not two of the greatest writers on planet Earth.
That's very true. I'm excited to see our adaptation of Midsummer Night's Dream.
That concludes, for the most part, this discussion of Domino. But we have to, as we always do with these bad movie podcasts, we have to ask one very, very important question. Obviously, as we've said, Domino is a lot of things.
Yeah.
Extremely racist.
Very racist.
Weirdly convoluted plot, nonsensical
sexist.
Structure, sexist. It also is just like dark for some reason. We shouldn't really touch on that much. It's just really dark.
Why
really
is there
dark, no lights in these rooms?
Yeah, it's fucking...
It's a lot of things. Most of those things are really bad. But the question is, Corey, is it worse than The Room?
No, but I had to think about it. And that's a problem.
I think The Room puts it over the edge because, obviously, Tommy Wiseau is a worse actor than anybody in this film. Obviously. And somehow, the sex scenes in The Room are even worse than the sex scenes in Domino. That movie is a true accomplishment, and I can't wait for his film coming out later this year, so there's that.
I'm excited for Che and I are going to watch that in theaters together.
Big Shark.
We're gonna be recording it. We're gonna be recording the first time we're gonna record a podcast during a movie. We're gonna see if we can kick that or not.
Oh, why did he call it Big Shark, Corey?
Because he's an idiot. Che, anything else to say before let the people go?
No, I don't have anything else for the people. Let's just quickly run down points of business because I forgot to do it up at the top. If you haven't already, please go follow us at youtube.com/@nexttimeonpod, or you can check the link in the description for all that good stuff. We've got, as I said, episode 300 coming up, as well as a lot of great stuff already on there, and stuff coming to your subscription box soon. Don't forget, you can follow us at Next Time On Pod on social media platforms. And last but not least, check out nexttimeon.net. I have something in the works for actually I'm gonna tease it. I've been saying I've got something in the works, but I haven't said what it is for a while. With the approach of Max, the transition from HBO Max to Max, which as I'm agreeing with you, Corey, a terrible decision by David Zaslav. But I think we have finally reached a stasis where the streaming services have really petered out. This is a project I've been working on for a while now, but every time I really started to do it, a new thing would pop up, like Paramount Plus or Peacock or HBO Max. But I want to do a guide for the viewers, for people who aren't permanently online like me, who aren't obsessed with TV and movies, of the best way to approach the streaming economy that we're in right now, and tell you guys where best to go find this good shit. Spoiler alert. It's all on the Criterion channel. Everybody go over to the Criterion channel. That's the best way to spend your money. But yeah, I'm writing that up. So that's going to be at nexttimeon.net sometime next month once I get my hands on Max.
Sounds good to me.
Anything else for the people, Corey?
Nothing else from me.
All right. I've been Che.
I've been Corey.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.